flight. And I know it was 20 years ago, but I kind of don't forget those kind of experiences easily, especially when I'm asked to speak about them now and then. And I found myself really missing the sound of a bird when I was in space. I missed seeing life on the planet. I mean, there were 6 other people on my space flight. They all looked a little weird with all that fluid going up to their heads and their little skinny legs and a few other things I won't mention right now. But it made me want to come back and look at what life was, to interact with the planet. A lot of people, when they're very sensitive to the environment, are able to say to themselves, wow, I feel better. They're able to relax and stretch themselves, beyond their work, beyond being with another human being. I decided to photograph for the Toronto Tree Calendar and selected as my theme the tree canopy. And it's no mean feat in Toronto to try to take images without human beings or the presence of human beings in it, which is one of my parameters of my life. I like to look at it from space and see the kinds of things that we have made with telephoto lenses, but without them, I like the broad expanse. And this, of course, is the complementary blue with the yellow of the weeping willow in the early springtime. But to be able to look at the artistic, wonderful patterns that trees make when they're interfacing with the environment, this is really at the edge between life on Earth and the outer part of space. Even close up, looking at the intricate forms that we have in nature. Here we see the Canada Redbud. I use the skies for backdrops quite often. And to be able to look at all these wonderful patterns that trees make, just trying to capture the most amount of light that comes through the tree canopy. So reaching up in the springtime, you can see all kinds of patterns. And most people don't look up. In fact, I was lying on the ground shooting straight up to get this photograph. Again, anatomy, it's pretty difficult to do when the tripod's right over your shoulders and the camera's in danger of falling into my face. But more importantly, I want to tell you where some of the stuff was taken. This is a copper beech tree in the winter. Now, where I took these images was in a cemetery. In fact, many cemeteries in Toronto have wonderful areas of spaces that have different types of trees, with different types of organisms being able to interact one with the other, to be able to interact with the environment, regardless of the weather. So I took this big image, and I went to this particular cemetery and spoke to the naturalist there. And I was thrilled to go to his desk, and I unrolled this great big 60-inch long thing. I thought it was in gloss, it was gorgeous, and I thought, boy, he's going to think this is really something. And he looks at it, and talk about the ecology and organisms that live one with the other. You can't forget that overwintering are other creatures. And he looked at this photograph and did not look at the grand beauty of it sweeping across his desk. He said, those damn gypsy moths. Because there on the trunk are the gypsy moths overwintering. So there are things that we see all year round, season by season, and each of us looks at something differently. But we become more sensitive to things. Now that I see those are gypsy moths, I look at bark better. I look at bark differently. When I took this particular image that I used for the July photograph that many people said to me afterwards, where did you find a red maple in July, Roberta? And I'm going, it's Canadian, eh? July the 1st, we've got to have a red maple. But in trying to take this photograph, the people in the cemetery knew I was coming. And I'd picked this tree, and I'd really wanted to shoot the pictures of all the leaves below. It was a beautiful cascade of all these red leaves on the green, and I just wanted to share that with people. And when I went to the car and got my tripod, the next thing you know, there's a man who knew I was coming, and he had his lawnmower, and he mowed underneath the tree for me so it would be prettier. So I had to change my shot, but nonetheless, it's trying to look at the beauty of the trees and what they provide us. They provide us with emotions. They provide us with protection. They provide us with all kinds of things that human beings cannot do. Young people these days sometimes are not quite into ecology the way we hope they will be. And so when we look at the future, we look at people in this room, for example, you're still the future. You may not think so, but you're the future. As far as I know, all of you will have a tomorrow. And so you have a responsibility just as much as people who are younger. The future of people looking at the ecology in the city is about being intimate with the kinds of things that we have, whether it is a dragonfly or a bumblebee. Enjoy. Thank you.